Autoweb. Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Autoweb.
All right, everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, the president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group, the podcast. And we've got a really, really good interview today, man. I got my man, David Long, who's the executive GM of the Hansel Auto Group, about 8 rooftops in California. Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman group, my friend. How you doing today?
Good, Sean. Good to see you again.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's just start with the organization. Tell us a little about the Hansel Auto Group. What part of the country you guys located in? How long you guys been in business, and about how many cars do you guys sell on a monthly basis?
Sure. So we've been in business for 60 years this year. So we're celebrating our 60th anniversary. We're in Northern California. Got a great owner. 2 owners actually, and we have 8 rooftops, and we sell about 1,000 cars a month.
Wow, that's a lot of cars, man. That's a lot of cars. So before we get into your background, I'm just really curious because California is one of the top automotive markets in the country, and we are going through this crazy pandemic situation that with these microchips, with inventory. I know that you have a couple Ford stores. Am I correct?
2 Ford stores.
Yeah, you have 2 Ford stores. And then I love talking about this question. Recently, I'm kind of blown away by the audacity of Ford. Ford OEM is looking to go, they're trying to change their business model, how people buy and shop for vehicles. They're supposedly want to go to about a 40% direct to order model. So yeah, I'm curious, a powerful dealer group like yourself, what is your current reality with this pandemic and inventory and the OEMs and stuff like that? What's it like for you guys right now?
So, this is the best problem we've ever had as an industry, right? It's like, I can think of a lot worse things that could happen to us with inventory being so low, margins being so high, where we've got a really efficient business model. I mean, I wish it would have been like this for the last 30 years I've been in this industry. But as you know, when we started the call, so I have 6 rooftops that I operate. 2 of them are not the Ford stores. So I have very little concern about that business model. By the way, some of that's happening on the VW side. I can see BMW talking about it, our Subaru store. So I think this is pretty much what the OEM is going to go towards, which is, we're going to exploit it and we're going to do the best we can with it.
That's pretty. It's pretty amazing. I want to double down on what you just said. It is amazing times. I've been in the industry for about 22 and a half years, not as long as you, but close. I have 2 daughters in the industry and a nephew. I have a 20-year-old nephew that went from, David, making $12 an hour at the bank to $12,000 a month on the showroom floor at a Buick GMC dealership. Mm-hmm. My daughter, who's also 20 years old, she works at a Kia Subaru dealership, and she's doing $8,000-9,000 a month right now. My other daughter is pissed at me because she was averaging 20 cars a month at a Buick GMC dealership for 3 years. Now she's coming to work for me. She's like, Dad, this is crazy. I wish that I stayed on the floor, because the amount of money that salespeople and dealerships are making now are insane. I mean, just like a couple years ago, the average, front and back copy of a Highline car all in was about 2 Gs. Now I've got freaking Kia dealers or, Honda dealers that are doing $9,000 per copy on grosses. So yeah, man, let's talk about that for a couple minutes. Like, these people that have only started working in our industry during this time have no clue of what car sales was like in the grind, right or wrong?
No, they really don't. And, in fairness to the consumer, right, we, at least at Hansel, we're not marking cars up like crazy. We're being incredibly fair to our customers. Here's why. Like, customers have long memories, right? They're not going to forget that we took advantage of them during a time when inventory was low. Now, we're being fair to our dealer, but we're also being incredibly fair to the consumer, right? They could go buy that very same car that they're going to buy somewhere else for $4,000 or $5,000 over sticker, we're going to be incredibly reasonable, and we're going to continue to have their business for the next 60 years. That's our business model.
Wow. So this is intriguing because I know so many dealers. Well, first of all, even before the pandemic hit, Kia Tellurides were doing $10,000 over sticker. You know what I mean? Before that, now it's a little bit crazier. But so you're saying that the Hansel Auto Group, that you guys are not doing addendums and adding stuff onto these cars?
Well, if, for instance, an MDX, a 2022 MDX, will be a very small margin over sticker, but when you look at the rest of the market, the $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 addendums, we're not in the car business, Sean. We're not the pounders, put them in a box, pencil. That is not me. It is a guest experience. It's ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. It's a different business for me than it is for most car dealers.
No, I respect it. And that's why we're doing this interview, because we want to give all perspectives. Look, bottom line is this. You've been in the industry for 30 years. Okay. So you are pretty much the platform GM of a very powerful dealer group in one of the toughest markets in the country. And you guys are selling 1,000 units a month. So obviously you're doing something right and something successful. And that's what this podcast is about. That's what this whole movement is about, is to share information, is to give this to other dealers. I know there's a lot of dealers that are cracking the brakes off of people right now, and they think that that's the right way to go. And here you are saying, look, you could still be successful, you could still be profitable, but you don't have to turn around and make all the money on somebody. So that's just it's an interesting perspective. Can you tell us about your competition in your area in California? Because I've got dealers all in Cali, and I'm hearing that this is similar. Are your competitors adding addendums or doing over sticker, and it's just you that's not doing it? Or is it all the dealers in California are being a little bit conservative with the pricing?
No. So when we dealer trade a car and I see an addendum that has an $8,000 markup, I take a photo of it, and that's great for the evidence manual, right? Like, that's just not who we are. We make a fair profit. We give great service, and I feel really good about that. And by the way, we made more in the first 3 months than we made in an entire year.
Oh my God.
It's not like we're not making money.
Right.
So I am completely satisfied with what we're doing. And I feel good that these customers that are buying from us today aren't going to be completely tormented in 4 years when they want, or 3 years when they want to trade out.
Now, man, I respect it. I really do, David. I think it's awesome. So let's get into your background. We ascertain you've been in the industry for 30 plus years. Mm-hmm. Talk us through, like, how did you get into the automotive industry? What were your positions, and how did you ascend to this executive management role, this executive leadership role in a dealer group?
So it's been a great 30 years. I started in detail, and detail was a grind. I was in Florida, at 90, 100 degrees, humidity the same. In detail is not a fun job to have. So I'll never forget what it's like to be back there grinding out a detail. From there, I went to sales. I happened to be the number one salesperson in the country for the number one dealer group in the country at the time. I made the mistake of getting in management, and my hours doubled and my income got cut in half. And that was the beginning of my management career. I bought a Ford store, had a great run as a dealer. I loved it. Sold it right before the last recession. Thought I was going to kick back a little bit, and then here I am running a dealer group, having fun.
Okay, so then these are like the standard questions I like to ask people that have a lot of experience. How has this changed the automotive industry just in the last, since you've been in it? I'll give you an example where I'm going with this, David, is that when I first started selling cars in 1999, which was a lot later than you did. I mean, you have a lot more experience than I do. The big thing for me is that we didn't have CRMs. We had paper desk logs and highlighters. To go from that to where I'm at here with all this technology is mind blowing. For you, what has been some of the crazy evolution since you've had your career?
So I think it's going to shock you to know that there hasn't been a big evolution for me. I started to change the business one customer at a time back in the 80s. And I just subscribed to a completely different business model. My brother's been a dealer for 45 years. And what I knew for a fact is that I was not going to be in the car business and do what I hear others doing, like ripping heads off and making pounders and putting people in boxes. And that's just not, like, I just couldn't imagine that as a dealer being something that we'd talk about in a sales meeting. Like I always thought about, so if my daughter was in the meeting sitting in the front row and I had I had 55, 60 salespeople at one time, would I be proud giving out spiffs for tearing heads off? Like, didn't even make sense to me. Right. So that's not a legacy that I, David Long, am going to leave to my children. So we are in the customer service business. We're in the people business, and we want to provide excellent customer service that no one else will receive anywhere.
You know, it's interesting you say that, and I love talking about this. Are you familiar with Truett Cathy, the founder of Chick-fil-A? I
am, yeah.
Okay, so one of my favorite stories that I love to share whenever I get the opportunity is like the whole epiphany that they had in that organization. There was a point where Boston Chicken, which became Boston Market, was in battle with Chick-fil-A to become the first chicken company to gross over $1 billion in a year. And so, the executives at Chick-fil-A were talking about what they're going to do to open up more restaurants, to get bigger and to get, better and make more money. And then the founder, Truett Cathy, kind of hit his palm on the table and said, "That's it. Enough. I don't want to hear from you anymore," meaning my executive team, "about how we're going to get bigger and sell more chicken and make more money." He said, "The only I want to focus on is how we can get better. Because if we get better at every possible thing we could get better at, our audience will demand that we get bigger." I'm going to repeat that. If we focus on getting better, our audience will demand that we get bigger. And David, that floored me when I first heard that. And I didn't hear that until after I started my company, actually years after I started Dealer Synergy. And it really had a big influence on me, and it really helped me shape and focus on culture, because it can't be about just the money and cracking somebody, and the instant gratification. Not in this industry. We have to acknowledge that, to your point, that this is a people first, a relationship business. And we want to have longevity. We've got to, build these relationships, perpetuate these relationships. And you can't do that if you're cracking people and shoving them into boxes, like you said.
No, I don't. It's just not for me. I mean, I have a lot of buddies in the car vertical that's just how they roll, right? And it's just not me.
But that has to be, so where did you get that philosophy that's not you? Like, because this is important, because to your point, there's a lot of people that are, and I want them here in this podcast to be like, there's a different paradigm. So what helped shape your paradigm and your perspective about being customer first?
So let me use the sports analogy. So I coach youth sports. And the way I learned to be a great youth course or sports coach was how I didn't want to be coached. Right? I had coaches that swore and kicked and pushed and shoved and threw things, and that's not the coach I am, right? And then when I got in the car vertical, I thought to myself, would I be proud if my mom was sitting in this room right now hearing this level of conversation? And the answer was always no. So just like I learned how to be a great coach by the coaches that I didn't want to be like, I learned how to be, in my opinion, a great retailer from the retailers that I didn't want to emulate. That's just, I'm not judging anybody. I mean, my coaches shaped me, the industry that I was involved, the dealerships that I was involved in taught me a lot of valuable lessons. So I am not casting judgment. I'm just saying it doesn't fit for David.
No, I understand and respect that. And again, to my original point, is that there's something that you're doing right to go from being a detailer to being a dealer principal of your own store to now running, a big chunk of a very successful dealer group. You're doing something well. All right, so give me some of the things that okay, so we know your philosophy, we know your integrity, and that's great. Let's talk about like resources and tools and stuff like that. What are some of the vendors that you use that have been really helpful to your success?
So I've always had a great relationship with Cox Automotive on the VIN solution side and the V Auto side.
Let's start right there. CRM is my baby. I love CRM. I've been a high level CRM engineer, and I'm on all these boards, and I get that question all the time. What's your favorite CRM? And you mentioned right there, like I'm a huge fan of Vin Solutions. Talk to me about what your utilization is in Vin.
So first of all, although I'm a real fan of Vin, I'm more a fan of the customer service side from Vin. So for me, it doesn't matter what the CRM is.
Okay.
And the reason I say it that way is it's all about utilization. To your point, it's about support. So every Wednesday morning at 6:00 in the morning, 6 a.m., my Vin Solution team joins me for a journey that we go on, and we've been doing it for almost 2 years, where we just dig in and look at every rooftop. We go deep, we go wide, and we just make sure. And they give me an A, B, C, or D report card every single time. And then they have a team call with us on Friday at 1:00, where we just randomly pick a lead and we drill in and we give it a report card, just like if you were in school, just like you were being tested.
Right.
It's a quiz, right? And if it's not as deep and it's not as wide, then the person gets a B, C, or D. And then we go back to the drawing board. So I love Vin Solutions for their support, to answer your question.
Awesome. Who else do you use?
So vAuto. So I'm a power user with vAuto. I love Dale Pollock. I've been his buddy for many, many years. And like, I couldn't imagine running my business without the support of vAuto and Dale and his executive team.
Okay, I got to tell you, I don't know if you know this is a fun little trivia. I'm actually in Dale's original book in Velocity. He kind of has a little section there, quote me and stuff like that. So Dale is definitely a pioneer for what he did at vAuto. So much respect. But going back to what you said before, again, to me, this has to be and this is where I think it's backwards for a lot of stores. You know, a dealership needs to find vendors that are going to understand their mission, vision, and values, and be able to personify that mission, vision, and values with their technology. So, for example, if you have a philosophy on, how business should be done, how you should treat people, what's the most important to you, what I find is a lot of times these dealers, they just want to sell cars. So they'll find a technology product or service, and it's almost like Frankenstein, because it's not synonymous. It doesn't work interdependently with their culture. And so I think that training is really important, to be able to make sure that your staff understands what the organization's mission, vision, and values are. And that way, if you've got a phone process or if you've got an engagement process, to be able to inspect what you expect. Some people do mystery shopping, some people do call monitoring. If I'm understanding, one of the things that you guys use is a call tracking system that analyzes these phone calls.
Yeah. So, your original question about what vendor partners do I have? I have more partners than I do vendors. So in other words, I won't write you a check every single month if you're not my partner.
I love it.
A partnership and a vendor relationship are completely different. And I'll give you the example of CallSource as a partner and Cars.com, two of the best partners I have, like partners that help me operate my business every single day in every single way, through mystery shopping, through constant monitoring. I don't want to get from a business partner a spreadsheet with 7 different tabs that I have to go in and grab information out of and deduce what lever I need to pull and what button I need to push. That's my partner's job. So if I'm going to be writing them a check every month, they're going to be telling and helping me run the business, right? And that has been an absolute game changer for me, especially with CallSource. They are awesome for me.
You know what? You just hit another major nugget on the head. Being in the industry for me for almost 23 years, dealers are I'd say very fluent in trying different things. Though, sometimes we call it the magic bean syndrome, because it's what's the newest flavor, what's the newest technology, whatever. But there's so much money in our industry, dealers can afford to try different things. But there is a difference, to your point. If you have a vendor that's just basically selling you leads or selling you a technology service versus a partner that's going to be proactive. See, and I'm a vendor partner, but I'm also a consultant and trainer. Like I have clients that are vendors and I have clients that are dealers, and talking to my dealer population, what they crave and what they need, to your exact point, is a partner that's going to be proactive. See, at the end of the day, a dealer's main need and functionality is to sell and service vehicles. Whether a dealer principal, GM, or manager has subject matter information doesn't matter. That vendor partner is being hired, retained, partnered with because they have an expertise. And if the dealership has got to babysit the vendor, it makes it no sense. If the dealership's got to chase the vendor partner supposedly to get them to do their job, then there's no need. Dealers need partners that are going to be proactive, that are going to be supportive, and at the end of the day, the bottom line thing is actually provide value, not excuses and vaporware. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so I'm just not going to have a partnership in any part of my life, right? Friend, partner, relationship partner. I'm just not going to have a partner that's not going to do their fair share, right? If you're just collecting a check from me every month and I get to use your platform, there are a lot of other vendors that I could select that probably would even have a better solution. So what my focus is on, how do we partner? For instance, I'll give you an example. If I'm the one that has to establish that I have something not working, then I probably don't have a partner that's helping me. I have a partner that's collecting a check. So that, in that respect, that's where these vendor partners, when I talk about cars.com and I talk about Call Source, vAuto, and Vin Solutions, they're constantly, and I mean constantly, once a week coming to me saying, did you know this link doesn't work? Do you know that phone number's not ringing? Bop, 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 bop. I don't need to be everywhere and see everything because I have such great partners.
I love it. Okay, so, but even, I'm curious, I'm going to play devil's advocate as a consultant here. So the challenge that I find sometimes is that when you have a GM, especially a platform GM that's in charge of multiple stores, and you get it, it's got to start from the top. If the GM hires a company or a technology, provider, the challenge is that if the GM believes in it and the GM likes, that's one thing, but at the end of the day, it has to be the boots on the ground. It has to be the floor managers, the sales managers, and the salespeople and the BDC people that are actually going to perpetuate it. So, and if they don't, it doesn't matter how good the vendor is, it's not going to work. So my question to you is this: I believe that all these tools are great, but one of the biggest problems, I don't care what vendor it is, what technology it is that most of the times dealers are not set up correctly, they're not utilizing it correctly. So my question specifically is, how do we get more of the middle management and the frontline, salespeople and BDC reps to actually utilize the technology that upper management believes in and pays for?
Okay, so let me give you a most recent example. 6 months ago, I decided I wanted to use a video product, and it was co-video. And this is, by the way, the same for everything that we decide. It is not, hey, great news, I just got back from a conference and we're going to be a co-video power user. It is a bottom-up selection, right? So they get the presentation, the middle-level management gets a presentation. They get together, they decide whether it's a product that they can get behind. Once they're behind the product and once they commit that that's something that's going to move our business forward, guess what happens then?
What?
It's co-accountability. And at that point, if they agreed that we're going to write that check every month, then they're going to use it the way we agreed to use it the day we signed up. It's not going to be the flavor of the week, the flavor of the month, something that we use for a week or two and then forget about. We're going to own it and we're all going to use it and hold each other accountable. So that's how it works in my world anyway.
I love it. I love it. So help me understand a little bit, like, what, like you mentioned Call Source. So they're call tracking and they kind of audit the phone calls. How does that help you and what value to get from it?
So I think the phone is the most underutilized, trained area. Like, I don't know, have you called stores lately? Do you call stores just to mystery shop them?
Yeah, that one of the things. Yeah, we've actually mystery shopped for FCA corporate, so we've done it for the OEMs, and then we have thousands of dealers that we actually. That's one of the things that we do. And it's funny, I've got a bunch of people that are on Call Source, but we have them on all the other systems. So what Dealer Synergy does do is because we teach phone training, inbound, outbound phone call process. And if you train somebody on something, it's our philosophy that you want to be able to measure to make sure that they've learned what you're trying to teach them and they're utilizing what you try to teach them. So yes, absolutely. We've audited phone calls a lot.
And if it's not one of your stores that you've trained, I would venture to guess you're astonished.
Let me build on that. In 22 and a half years, one of the things I could count on without even skipping a beat is that if I call a dealership, and even sometimes our own dealerships, just for the record, right, is that, we'll catch a bad experience across the country, even in some of the best dealerships, because to your point, there's so much opportunity, to do good, but there's so many ups that are coming through for a high volume store. There's a lot of opportunities to drop the ball or not really give it your all. So yeah, it's sometimes tragic, man.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Attention auto dealers, you need an opportunity to do business. Autoweb is one of the largest suppliers of high quality leads, high quality buyers. At a 10% closing ratio, you will be at less than $190 per car sold. Don't just settle for what you get. Autoweb can fully customize your results through targeted markets and/or zip codes, and as a partner, you will get premium placement within search results. Who better to do that than literally the people that invented automotive internet sales? If you want to sell more cars more often and more profitably, then you need Autoweb.
It is more times than I care to admit tragic, but let's just say that we did a great job, but we didn't hit the 3 or 4 KPIs that I need done on every single phone app. That alert system is the game changer.
Yes.
For instance, if we didn't ask for an appointment, if we didn't answer the question, whatever it is that we decide to set up, that alert, this is the greatest part. Every single person on the call or that is in the group, the hunt group, will get an email, able to listen to the call. But even if they don't listen to the call, it'll tell them exactly what we didn't do. And then that is a management responsibility to call that customer right back and then reply to the entire hunt group of the outcome, right? And that happens 100% of the time, every single day without fail, 0 exceptions. And I think if we didn't have Call Source that was able to separate the wheat from the chaff and give us information that could help us produce a better result, I don't think we'd have the result we have today, Sean.
No, what's kind of interesting, David, is this. Think about how much money your organization on a macro level for the 8 stores spends on a monthly basis in marketing, advertising, branding, in HR, in your physical location, all the resources, inventory. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of money to drive an opportunity, a prospect. I think it's utterly absurd to me as a trainer, as a high-level trainer, that we're not inspecting these conversations. I mean, a lot of times dealers are working on hope. They hope their salespeople are doing the right job. They hope that their call centers answering the phone calls the right way. And I just say that when we're in an economy right now where inventory there's a shortage, there's microchip shortages, and there's all these special circumstances, doing business in the pandemic, opportunities are too precious to burn through. And if it was me, I would want to inspect what I expect. And one of the best ways to do that is through a call tracking service like Call Source, I think.
I couldn't agree more. And you know what? Right now, though, it's not that difficult to be a stud.
Yes.
Right now, right? So if the customer calls, has a bad experience, but you have the right product, they're calling back or they're coming in. Right. So the days of they're going to call 4 stores are going to have the same product. I'll go to any store that handles it the best. That's not the case. So we're going to sell out of new cars every single month.
Right.
Give you an example, the Subaru store. We have 9 new Subarus on the ground. We're going to sell 135 new Subarus. So, we get them, we're sold off the truck. It's just like, so if a customer calls in, gets a bad experience, they're going to find the car they want from the person they want it from.
Yes, I would agree 1,000%. So tell us, because this is all positive and I love that, but like, there's got to be some challenges. What would you say? Let's redirect the conversation, here, from like just the environment. Like, what are the challenges for, your organization or just stores in general during this economy or during these times? Are you finding anything that's difficult or a challenge to overcome?
So I think one of the biggest challenges is keeping people hopeful, continuing to keep spirits up, continuing to keep people excited, keep people dialed in. I mean, it's with everything going on in California, with the election recall, with mask mandates, with vaccine mandates, with not being able to go to a restaurant if you don't have the vaccine. I mean, there is a lot going on that could distract somebody and have them feel less than encouraged. So if I would pick one thing that we need to do as a leadership team, that is to keep our people excited and hopeful for a brighter day.
How do you do that then?
So we do it a couple different ways. One, every single Wednesday, and I know you're going to be like, one day, every single Wednesday I have a guest speaker. It could be like last 2 Wednesdays, this author came and spoke to our team. He's spoke on Oprah 4 times. He's got 37 million books in circulation. He has it written in 37 different languages.
Wow.
Like every single Wednesday, it's somebody that pours hope, inspiration, and encouragement into my team. And by the way, every dealer partner is invited, every vendor is invited, friends, families, neighbors. I mean, there's 217 people on that call. And it is that don't even work with me. Just to pour into the community and help. That's one way. The other way is I really believe in this co-video strategy where when we find somebody doing something right, one of the senior leaders will send a quick 30 to 60-second video telling them how much we appreciate them, what a great job they did. Then we do these extra mile awards. I mean, there's just so much we're pouring in. I believe that we have to just continue to do that. I mean, people need that right now more than anything.
You know what? I love to hear you say this, man, because again, in one of the challenges that I have for the last 17 years I've owned this company is helping dealers with attrition. To me, that's the pandemic. That's the bubonic plague in our industry, is that we have a 70 to 80% attrition ratio. And because I hate to say it, most dealers, obviously not your organization, but most dealers value throwing marketing dollars against the wall versus properly recruiting, onboarding, training, and develop talent. So I love to hear and find dealerships and leaders in this industry that recognize, that their people are, one of the most important assets in an organization. And how do you do that? By treating them with respect, by putting them first, and like you said, pouring into them. So I commend you for that, man. That's awesome. Good stuff.
Thank you. I don't know if you noticed my hat. Do you see it?
Yes.
That's the pandemic of positivity. So we've created a pandemic that's gone viral. And this pandemic is just about pouring positivity into the world.
100%, man. And I think it's infectious too. I think that, Shakespeare said, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. So if you guys are, leading with kindness and altruism and professionalism, it's going to influence your subordinates, the middle management and frontline people in the organization. And, kindness begets more kindness, success begets more success.
100%.
All right. So what would you say to the dealers that are not, let me frame this the right way. Dr. Covey says that there's different levels of mental maturity. You have dependent, codependent people. That's the most primitive. You've got independent people, which is where I was stuck at for a long time in my life. I was a rock star, but an asshole, you know what I mean? And it was all about me. And then as I got older and wiser, I understood that there was interdependence, there was synergy. And so, that when you are at the ultimate nirvana of mental maturity, you're in the interdependence mind state, the synergy mind state. But there are people that are not at that level. And I don't mean economically, I just mean maturity wise. How do you advise dealers, and our automotive professionals, managers, et cetera, that are hearing you, that's like, yeah, but that shit's not going to work over here, or you don't understand, it's this, that, and the other thing. What advice do you have to people that are struggling, or that are angry, or that are like combative, or that stuff like that?
That's a big question. So
you're a big man to answer it though.
I think based on experience, to your point, your evolution, it's an inside job with an outside reflection, right? So if I have a group of middle level management that's angry, that isn't in alignment, I got a broken picker, right? I have the wrong people on the bus. And it doesn't mean that I hear, a leopard doesn't change his spot. I don't believe that, because we're not leopards, right? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I don't believe that either, because my parents' tree, I am in a different orchard compared to what, right, I experienced as a child. So I do believe people can evolve. I do believe people can change. But if I have a leadership team that isn't all about our people, then I have the wrong person in the wrong seat on the bus. So for me, I'm very, very fortunate that we have people that are leading with their heart, that are leading from the front. And the only way that happens is through connectivity. Right? You can't select and direct and expect to have a result that has a high engagement level. It just doesn't work anymore. I hope that makes sense. Hope that answers your question.
That absolutely does. Absolutely does. All right. Now, selfishly, because I'm a trainer, how important is training, practice, drilling, rehearsing, and mastering your craft?
So right now it's more important than ever. You want to know why?
Why?
Because it doesn't take a sharp skill set to sell a car today. And what's going to happen is this is going to change, and we're going to be, not me, not my team, but people are going to look up and think, holy moly, all of our tools are rusty and dull. We need to keep our tool and our skill set sharp. And the only way that happens is through repetition. The only way that happens is through buy-in from the whole team. And that has to happen every day. When's the best time to do daily training? Every day.
Every day, 100%. I would agree. I mean, I've had the pleasure for my radio show to interview some of the best and brightest in the world outside the automotive industry. And I got to the chance to interview Lieutenant Commander Sean Matson from the Navy SEALs, and he's a Navy SEAL officer. And, just it blew my mind, man, that he would say that just the act of taking his firearm out of the holster, he would practice that, not even raising it up and aiming and pulling the trigger, just withdrawing it and raising it up hundreds of thousands of times, just that one physical act to develop that muscle memory. And it blows my mind, because when you look at superb people, whether they are Navy SEALs or they're gold medalists in the Olympics, I mean, these people at the highest levels in their field, the common denominator, look at Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, is that they practiced, they drilled, they rehearsed, they mastered their craft. And in our industry, there really honestly isn't enough on both sides. There isn't enough management and oversight to encourage and lead by example, provide resources. And there's not enough internal desire from salespeople to want to do more, be more, and achieve more, to, want to train as hard. And I don't mean your organization. I'm just saying the macro numbers. When NADA says that the average salesperson only sells 9.6 cars a month, and maybe with the pandemic 12 cars, is insane when you look at like an Ali Retta or a Cody Carter or some of these other people out there. What's the difference of basic and mediocrity versus the potential? What do you think?
What separates Ali and Cody from the average person?
Yes, the average person.
Well, one, I think that they're special. Right? I without question believe they're special. And if they weren't special, then there'd be more Ollie's and there'd be more Codys, right? Because I don't believe fundamentally people want to show up and be average. So from that respect, I totally believe that some do and some don't, some can and some can't. They certainly can. If I can get my team's average into the 25-30 range, I'm like delighted, right? That's great. If I have some 40 car guys, that's great. But if I have a team of 20 car producers and they have great quality of life and they feel good about what they're doing and I'm getting all my needs met, we're not missing opportunities, like I'm good. Like, let's go. Let's grow the business one person at a time. But we train, just so you know, back to your training question, we train every single Monday for 2 hours. I don't know if that's a long time or a short time. And then we have daily huddles. So the huddles are broken down, very specific, very intentional. But the Monday trainings, one session is for the overachievers. The next session is for the up and comers. And that is every single Monday. This week it's Tuesday because of the holiday. But that we found to be very, very beneficial to everybody on the team.
Man, I got to tell you, I love it. That's why I created the group, the Millionaire Car Salesman group. We're sitting on almost 21,000 members. And for me, I love to see the non-dealer synergy clients in there, you know what I mean? Because these people are thirsty. They don't have dealer synergy brand demand, so they're on their own going through social media, trying to find nuggets, little pieces of information so they could do more, be more, and achieve more. The podcast that we're going to be featured on, that you're going to be featured on, it's got over 200,000 downloads. People are listening to this all over in our industry, trying desperately to get nuggets, because most organizations, David, are not like yours. Most dealerships are not like your philosophy, and I think you know that. And so when you find people that are willing to give up their time like you have for like the last 40 minutes here, 45 minutes, just to help somebody else, I wanted to say thank you, because we really appreciate it. I mean, just the fact that you went from a detailer to dealer principal to a platform, to executive is inspirational. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people don't believe that they can be successful or they could achieve the level of success that other people can. But you and I are both living proof that this industry is good to people that take the opportunity and run with it.
Super interesting you said that, because it's one of the interview questions I ask to anybody that comes on or that wants to be on the team that has sales background, right? That's been in our industry. Who's your favorite author? What Facebook groups are you in? Like when people say nothing and no one and I'm not involved, like there's so much free information out there. When was the last time you watched a YouTube video to make enhance your skills? Well, I haven't. That's not the person I want on the team, because I know for a fact that person's not going to shift their paradigm. They're not going to go from where they are to where I need them to be. And I'm not interested in that person on my team. Right. So that's a great point.
I love that. And again, I don't know if you know this, but one of the things that we do is we've done recruiting and staffing. I've hired 37,000 automotive professionals all over the country in the last 17 years that we've been in business. And, we are using social media to pre-screen people. And when we do the intake questions, it's very similar to what you're saying, is that we want to try to find not somebody that's just breathing that could potentially be there, but somebody that's going to be an actual great fit for the team. And I think that, and I joke about this, but one of my competitors said this phrase, and I believe it. It's like, did you hire them dead or kill them after you got them? Meaning, that did you hire the wrong person because you did a piss poor job in screening and qualifying, or did you have a good person but destroy their potential of success because you didn't onboard them the right way? You didn't have a training program. You didn't develop them. You didn't turn around and evolve them into the professional they could be. So let's start there. What do you do as we're winding down this interview when you try to find talent? Is there any particular way that you recruit or you try to find great talent?
From a sales position, we're very fortunate that people want to work with us, right? We have a great reputation. We've been in the marketplace for 60 years. It's a great place to work, and people know that in my marketplace. But so we can afford to be somewhat selective, and I feel really, really good about that. But when we do recruit, we run an ad. We let people know that we're in the marketplace, and that gives us all that we need to be able to staff our teams. And I feel great that we don't have to continue to chase people down and beg them to be on the team.
So once you find the right people and you put them into your training, and to get them ramped up, what do you say? How long should you invest into onboarding a new hire that doesn't have experience? You know what I mean? Like, even if they're
how long from when they start to when they start to get it?
No, to before you let them loose and sell cars by themselves, take ups.
Well, this is going to be different than anybody you've probably ever talked to, but I believe it takes what it takes. And I don't subscribe to the fact you get 3 weeks, you get 4 weeks, and then you're done. Like some people that are really, really good. I'll use me, for example. It took me a long time to understand what people were talking about. I have a long learning curve, but once I got it, I got it. So we do not have a timeline, but we do know through testing, through interviewing, through re-interviewing, when somebody's ready to say, welcome, my name is. And it's different for everybody, Sean.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I'm curious, what are some of the top books that you recommend for an automotive professional? Whether you are sales, management, ownership, what are some books that have influenced you that you'd like to recommend to our audience?
Well, the first book is Lou Tice. It's not this exact book that he wrote, but it's A Better World, A Better You by Lou Tice. And if you're going to be in the industry and you want to shift paradigms and you want to be able to structure yourself to succeed, Lou Tice, A Better World, A Better You. And then he has 3 other books that I recommend. This one happens to be on my nightstand because I'm in the middle of reading it again. That's one. The next one is I love all of Tony Robbins' information. Ultimate Power was something that transformed my life. Think and Grow Rich. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on because I have a stack of books that I recommend, but I know that the people that read the most, that consume the most information, succeed at the highest level.
100,000,000% agreed. Again, what's tragic is that my publisher told me when I got signed to Wiley that the average American reads less than 1 book a year, which is a shame, because if you look at just some of the most brilliant people, whether it's Warren Buffett or Steve Jobs when he was alive or whomever else, one of the big things that a lot of very, very successful people, especially executives, say is reading, consuming information. I mean, that's the way that we're able to expand our perspective and modify or enhance our paradigms and synergize, and is definitely by acquiring different perspectives and knowledge. So I love that. And that's why I love social media. I love Clubhouse. I love these different groups because I love the conferences that we're part of because we get to synergize and collaborate. Last couple questions, and then
Sure.
I'll let you go crush out your month. Okay. Obviously, in the last 30 years, there have been things that made you successful, and you as a leader, you've trained people to be successful. Can you give us 1 or 2 of these career-long things that you've learned or you've perfected that you could give? Like, you know what I mean? So you have a lot of years of experience. We're on a podcast right now. I'm sure that we could spend like weeks or months listening to all of your stuff. But in the last couple of minutes we have of this podcast, give us a couple of tips or advice or best practices that could help anybody in our industry do more, be more, achieve more.
2 things. 1, be a ravenous learner. Just be absolutely prodigious on accumulating knowledge. If you have a bad attention span and you're like, I can't read books, it doesn't help. I mean, I just forget what I read. Well, then go to audio, books on audio. If you don't have an attention span to listen to a whole book, then use the app called Blinkist. It's $56 a year. You can listen to a whole book in like 16 minutes, right? Like there's all these different ways and different hacks, especially now. If you're that man or woman that's watching cat videos all day, instead of listening to something that's going to make you better, then you're probably not going to succeed at a high level. That's the first thing. The second thing, don't underestimate the power of role playing, practicing, drilling, and rehearsing. I'll never forget it. And God rest his soul. His name was Joe Gibbons. We were both battling always for Salesman of the Year at the #1 store in the entire country. Always battling, but every morning we'd start, why is today a good day to sell a car? What if a customer says this? What do you say? How do you overcome? How do you show up? What's your energy? What does your meet and greet sound like? And we were making, Sean, I was working 30 hours a week, making $200,000 a year. I was on my boat or in the gym more than I was in the dealership, working by appointments only, right? It was a big deal, but I practiced, trained, and rehearsed and drilled every single day. So those would be the 2 things. Gather information, continue to learn, and then practice, drill, and rehearse. And I don't know anybody that does those 2 things that doesn't crush it. I've never met one person that said they do those 2 things consistently that wasn't at the top of their field. It's remarkable. And it's simple.
I love all the information that you're giving, my friend. And to recap, congratulations on all the success you have as the executive, general manager of the Hansel Auto Group in California. And man, you guys are crushing it. Even in the pandemic, you're doing, some crazy numbers. So that's why I wanted to be able to interview you and get to hear some of your philosophy, strategy, and hear what type of vendors that you're into. And you said you like Cox Automotive, specifically, like Vin Solutions and V Auto, and then, Call Source, and you mentioned cars.com and
Those are my four best partners, Sean.
Yeah, and and I'm going to say something, and I want to share this to my audience, and just so you understand, most of those people are not even our sponsors or what have you, and some I don't agree with, you know what I mean? But this is a neutral space. I want to bring people onto the show to share their experience, because here's my thing, is that if those vendors are being successful for him and his 8 stores, then you guys might want to consider it. You know what I mean? So I love that we have different philosophies and different perspectives. At the end of the day, there's more than one way to get to the end result. I mean, let's just do some basic math. If the closing ratio is 10%, right, and I have my ninja system that I'm going to do, that means that there's 9 other ways to do it completely different or partially different to still get a full 10%, which means that the most important aspect of what I try to do is give all of my audience and my listeners different perspective, to be able to hear different philosophies, different strategies, different, vendors, different technologies, different books, because hopefully you're going to hear something or find something that you could utilize in your organization or in your life that's going to better you and your organization. Right, my friend?
I totally agree. And I don't think it's about the vendor partner. I think it's more about the setup. I think it's more about the relationship, and I think it's more about the consistency than it is the specific vendor. So
you have said nothing I disagree with this whole entire interview. I've seen real crappy CRMs, right, that are set up the right way through a trained person that has a support mechanism and accountability that could outdo whatever you think the best technology is. So yeah, there's different flavors of stuff, but nothing's going to be more valuable than your internal people and processes that you have. Because 100%. If you've got good people with good processes, that will outdo better technology that's not set up or utilized correctly all day long.
Totally agree. I tell my buddies, give me a team of C players and I'll kick your A players' butts every day, 7 days a week and twice on Sunday. Just through execution, just through consistency. It's not that difficult.
I love it, my friend. So what we're going to do is I'm going to let you close out. We're going to stay on, but I want you to give, the last thing to the industry. Like there's 21,000 members in here and there's hundreds of thousands of downloads on the podcast. So as you leave, what would you like to leave the audience with as far as your experience, your thoughts, your takeaways, whatever?
So really kind of a plug. I hope you don't mind, but it's a plug for the Pandemic of Positivity.
Yeah, explain.
Go to pandemicpositivity.com. I don't know anybody in our industry that right now especially couldn't use a little more positivity in their life, in their work, on their team. So go to the Pandemic of Positivity. You can join. You can take the pledge to be a little bit more positive in your world, and I promise you'll get it back tenfold. So that would be my sort of final thought.
No, I appreciate it. I see the Pandemic Positivity all over Clubhouse as well. You know what I mean? So in the different groups in there, they have the profile pic, and much respect to what you're doing, the Pandemic of Positivity.
So there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tiana Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Sean V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, and remember, where I'm from, money provides options. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is sponsored in part by Autoweb. If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman group on Facebook. We'll see you there.